Alright, antique outboarders, what I have here is what I am titling a very special Johnson Milemaster pressure tank, 6-gallon variety. Not sure of the year, but I think it's the older style because of the tower type button here. When I got it, I actually purchased it along with a 57 Johnson Javelin that I've always wanted. I'm still in the process of getting that one up and going, but when I got this pressure tank home, I noticed that there were some interesting components to it. Looking inside, I noticed that there was some additional metal work. Let's see if I can get a extra light here. Additional metal work in there, and I thought was kind of like a baffle or something. Got a piece of gasket hanging out there. I've actually removed the top part for this video, but I thought it was like a baffle to prevent or to allow for gas to stay still when a rock boat is rocking, etc. And didn't think much about it until recently when I decided I better drain some of the residual gas out of it, and then opened up the top to get better access to the gas and check the gaskets and whatnot. And I got to thinking, that's not really a baffle. There's something very unusual about it that I've never seen before in any pressure tank. So what I did is I took it apart here. I actually have all the screws loosened just for this video. Well, maybe all but one or so. Let me just take these off real quick and we'll get a better look inside. If the lighting will cooperate with us, that is. Okay, so I got this all off. Just set this aside here. Okay, so looking in here, I noticed, let me see if I can increase the light here. I've noticed that there's like a, it's not really a baffle, it's like a reservoir with a hole in the bottom. And I looked down here, and boy, the lighting's really bad. I apologize. Maybe there, some components inside there. I thought, what is that? And I was starting to think that maybe it was some type of oil reservoir that you use for filling. I wasn't sure. Then in the very bottom, let me just set this aside here, there was a metal tag that said full, and I thought maybe it rode on a float or something like that. So I'm going to see if I can pull that back up. I actually had it down earlier. I just got a wire rod here. I'm going to pull it back up, and I noticed there was some circular depressions in it, almost about the diameter of this opening here, and it seemed to fit there really well. And lo and behold, it looks like that, no, it wasn't part of a float or anything like that, but actually fit right in here in some type of brazing or soldering that they had done. Actually just kind of broke away after the years. But no, look at that. So right now you get that in there, and notice that this says full. So now I'm really thinking, now this is really cool. So using my same rod, I was able to reach down inside. Got a hooked rod here. Reach down inside and grab this, and I can open and close the ports. So there is a shutter valve that I'm calling like a leaf valve or something that slides and rotates to close this port down in here. I know the lighting's really bad, but right there, there's that port. And there's actually one on the other side of this chamber. And it is a reservoir. And I'm thinking, you know what? That holds about a quart volume. So I'm thinking, this is what happens. You pour your two-stroke oil up to that full line with the port closed, and then when it's full, you open it up and allow it to drain into the tank, and I'll fill the rest up with gasoline. That's my idea. But this hooked rod that I was using to open and close the port was just nonsense, because I'm thinking, how would you ever do that with a partially full tank or whatever? Then I got really smart and realized that this lever right here that actually held the chain for keeping the gas cap intact, it actually broke and fell off. It's down in the bottom. I'll have to fish it out. But this is what actually opens and closes this port. So that closes the port. Right here you can see how it's extended. And looking down in there, you might be able to see, yeah, you can barely make out that that port is now closed. Let me go ahead and open this up now. You can see that I'm now opening that port, and that port is very, very well made, and the seal that it makes seems to be extremely tight. I kind of thought that maybe this was like a reserve tank also, you know, like you'd keep this port closed, and when the main tank runs out, then you just open it up and you got the last quart or so of fuel to get you back to the dock. But that idea doesn't work because the cap with this lever up, will not close. It's way too high. You know, even with the diaphragm fitting up here, this is way too high. So this has to be closed. So what I'm going to do, just to demonstrate my idea that this is how this works, is I have got a full quart of 2-stroke oil that I've filled up. So this would be for 24 to 1. I'm thinking if I close that port, number one, it's not going to leak, and number two, it's going to come up to that full line. So let's just go ahead and do this little test. I've got a funnel here, the port's closed, and let me see if I can not make a huge mess. Let me clean this funnel out here a tad. I'm really excited about this because I've never seen one of these before. Someone said that it's got to be homemade. I'm thinking there's no way. With all that engineering in there, this is not a homemade job. This is a factory prototype or something. Decided not to do it. All right, let's see. I'm going to do a quart, and let's see where it gets us. Would you believe it? Would you believe it? This volume is exactly, perfectly 1 quart. Goes right to that line. And it is not leaking out the bottom there. So this is a prototype that was never mass produced, but oil is not leaking out of this valve right here. It's full to the top. You can see that it's full. Right now I'm going to close it, and we can see the oil gush into the main tank. I am so excited about this. There it goes. This is the coolest pressure tank that I have ever seen in my life. So I am just tickled pink about this thing. I know exactly what this is for and figured it out. So if you ever come across one of these, just don't think a pressure tank's a normal pressure tank until you actually open the lid and look inside. See if you have one of these extra components to it. This is cool. Happy to have it. It's probably worth more than the motor that I bought it with, because I've never seen another one like it. So the only one of the drawbacks though is on the bottom. It does have a couple of screws that hold the that reservoir in place. Obviously we got some gasket, but that could be a potential issue of leaking. I'll have to keep an eye on that when I take this to a outboard motor meet or whatever. But this is cool. I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this a little bit. Put this back in here, and got to replace this gasket. That was really one of my goals of this thing before I put it in service. So I don't really care too much about ripping it. But there you have it. A prototype, if you will. 6-gallon Johnson Milemaster earlier model. Pretty cool. So I'll post this video on YouTube and link it to the antique outboard motor forum Q&A section. But that's all for now, and happy motoring.